You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth, the show that detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts, truth, research, and statistics about all the Detroit and Michigan sports teams that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, whether fans like it or not. No junk, no entertainment, no homerism, no coddling, no pop culture, no opinions, no shilling, and no fluff. Head over to our website at michigansportstruth.weebly.com, follow us on Twitter at Michigan_truth, and like our Facebook page, The Michigan Sports Truth. Also listen to us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts via iTunes. The Michigan Sports Truth podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
And welcome to episode 12 of the midweek edition of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Also, follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. Ed, how was your week? How was your Independence Day?
Trying to comprehend both the massive signings of LeBron James to the Lakers, then right after that, DeMarcus Cousins to the Golden State Warriors. So there was that, at the very least. Not to mention getting ready for this massive UFC 226 this upcoming weekend between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight championship. So just the minor things.
Mm-hmm. I was swamped at Ruby Tuesday at Cadillac. I had a lot of people dig into the salad bar. I kept refilling it and refilling it. There was a point where I almost had no time to fill up the backups last night, but I caught right back up, and it was just a busy Independence Day week.
Mm-hmm.
But the salad, the Endless Garden Bar is always really good. It's got 59 ingredients. So, with that said, we got Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers to diagnose, or dissect rather. And let's start with the Pistons here.
Left sideline, three, and he answers.
The Pistons signed a former Piston guard from the, I don't know what he played for, I think from the Raptors, but they signed guard Jose Calderon to a 2-year, $8.3 million deal. So the Pistons bring one of the Pistons from the past back. And it's not a going to work Piston. That's a long time ago. But Jose Calderon used to be good a few years back. Probably I don't know, a decade ago still.
Well, this would be, I think, his 14th season coming up now in the league. He did start out with Toronto, which would make sense, not just the Dwayne Casey connection, but also the Ed Stefanski connection. Had to obviously play a role in this signing as well. He did recently play for Cleveland last year, played for a good 57 games, the second most games he played. It's been a while since he played at least 50 games since the 2015-2016 season with the Knicks, so being able to contribute 57 games was very important for the Cavaliers, especially with them having their own bevy of point guard problems, trading Kyrie Irving, the ineffectiveness that was Isaiah Thomas. So for Calderon to contribute off the bench as much as he could with 16 minutes and still manage a relatively decent, production-wise numbers, including some good numbers from three-point land and the free throw line. Granted, it was only 4.5 points a game that he averaged with the Cavaliers, but still, when you're playing on the team with LeBron James, you have other players such as Kevin Love and J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver, other heavily offensively minded guys. That's going to take up your production in terms of points for a while. I don't know if he can recapture the offensive spark that he had when he was with the Pistons, when he was averaging 11.6 points a game. But if he can give us somewhere to that 8-9 point chip, that he is, the average for his career, it will be a good considerable amount for someone who's going to be coming off the bench, helping us with some relative backup guard depth, considering the fact that they may be putting Ish Smith on the trade block. They just renounced the rights to Dwight Bikes' contract as well. So between freeing up space and as well as shifting some players around, this is a move that really does not surprise me when you look at all factors take all the factors into consideration.
Mm-hmm. So the Pistons bringing back more chemistry. And speaking of chemistry, Ed Stefanski hires Gregg Polinsky from the Brooklyn Nets as director of player personnel, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. He tweeted that Stefanski and Polinsky have worked for the Brooklyn Nets for a few years in the past, and they're going to work together again for the Detroit Pistons. So, what's your any analysis on that?
Well, again, it would not surprise. It's something that we touched upon on even one of our last 1 or 2 episodes of how, essentially, they're trying to replicate or recreate some of the chemistry that led the Toronto Raptors to the success that they've enjoyed so far. And to be honest, I don't mind this strategy they're trying to do, especially now when you couple this with the fact that the biggest obstacle that Dwayne Casey had to face for the past few years is now out west. LeBron James is with the Lakers. He's no longer in the Eastern Conference. Thank God for him. So between that, granted, you're going to still be dealing with the powerhouses, the likes of the Celtics and the 76ers. So by no means is this still going to be like an easy cakewalk for the Pistons to get through. They're still going to have to put the work in to make some relative progress in this Eastern Conference, LeBron or no LeBron. But I like the moves. I like how they're trying to shape things so far. I'm quite impressed.
Mm-hmm. And those two will be included in our What's Your Grade segment. And speaking of which, we transition to the Red Wings.
Brief note before we transition to the Red Wings, let's not forget to mention the other sign that the Pistons had. This one has some local connections as well. Glenn Robinson III, former Michigan Wolverine.
Yes, that's right.
Just spent 3 seasons with the Pacers. Was recently signed this past off season. I believe it was it a 1-2 year deal, something like that.
Yeah, that was before the week in review, the last week in review edition. But yeah, we can include that too. Yeah.
All right, but it was, even though it was before the week in review, I think it was after our midweek report, right?
Yep. Sometime in between those two. Yeah, but yeah, the Pistons get a Michigan Wolverine, Glenn Robinson III. Yikes.
Yeah, this is definitely to help with their wing depth, particularly in the small forward spot. Essentially, you can kind of say this is a replacement for Tobias Harris after you dealt him the Blake Griffin trade last year. So I'm trying not to let my homerism show up too much in this, but knowing his credentials, knowing what his athletic potential is, this is a move that I quite very like for the Pistons.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was already graded, but we'll let you grade that when we get to our what's your grade segment as well. So now we transition to the Red Wings. The Red Wings, this just in from today, they re-sign Andreas Athanasiou forward to a 2-year, $6 million deal.
I love it.
So Andreas Athanasiou, it appears, wants to stay in Detroit, and Ken Holland still likes Andreas Athanasiou for some reason.
Yeah, even though he's probably, right, you would think with the little amount of money that he's paying him, you would think, wow, this is really you want to keep this guy. But Holland would be a fool not to offer him anything. And for Athanasiou, I guess, hey, for now at least, it seems like a situation where, like you said, he wants to be here. But, let's see if he performs up to the standards we expect him to perform. Could that be a situation or tool used against him in the next couple of years when he is a restricted or unrestricted free agent? Could this be a tool, a chip for him to use to gain more leverage in terms of a bigger payout this time, as opposed to saying, hey, you've seen what I've done for you now. Can you give me my more better haul this time around, or am I going to have to look to find greener pastures elsewhere? So it's quite an interesting contract for the Red Wings to sign. But when you think about the other recent moves that have been made and may continue to be made very shortly, it doesn't surprise me in the least.
Mm-hmm. Now let's get to that. Let's get to that Henrik Zetterberg story written by Jeff Moss. He's headed to the long-term injury reserve. He's got, because of his back injury, he's got 3 or 4 years left, and the Red Wings, it appears, are going to play without a captain until Henrik Zetterberg retires. They're probably going to wait out the rest of his 12-year contract until it runs out. But it appears Zetterberg is retiring pretty soon.
It does not surprise me. Another move that doesn't surprise me in terms of Zetterberg announce his retirement soon. I will say though that the method of his tenure with the Wings coming to an end was a little bit of a surprise of it to be announced like this and so suddenly, so soon. But in a sense, it is good because I think I read up online that with this, plus with them already doing the same method to Johan Franzen, I think the Red Wings, considering if this all goes through, they'll have about, $22 million in cap space, which is good because while you're too busy spending that money on the likes of Mike Green, bringing him back, you could have used that as a help towards something else. But maybe they're not at that point. They feel they're not at that point stage yet where they could make that type of offer to a big contending, a big-time free agent to come by and instantly make them a contender again. Because they probably still, at least half of them believe that they're still going through a rebuild. So it will make sense for a move like this to be announced or to be leaked out to prepare people for the impending announcement.
Mm-hmm. And
don't get me wrong, it's not hurt. Like Zetterberg, losing his production, no matter how old he was getting or older he was, he still gave you quality minutes, quality production, and that is your captain. So that's always going to be an intriguing factor. Like, how do you replace your team captain? Like, this is different compared to, say, having it all set up in advance or knowing full well, who's going to be the next guy. Like, you knew Lidstrom was going to be the next guy after Eisman, and you knew that Zetterberg was going to be the guy after Lidstrom. The question is, there's not really that much of a confident sense this time around. Like, who do you think is going to be the new captain? Like, really? Just an applicator? Please, God, no. I would rather take my chance on a young guy like a Dylan Larkin or even one of these young draft picks like, say, Joe Valeno in a couple of years or something to that effect. But more than likely, my money would be on Dylan Larkin than hopefully than a guy like Justin Applicator to be your freaking captain. Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, really, I don't even know who's going to be the captain. Dylan Larkin would be a good choice, but Justin Applicator, even though he told the truth in Moss's nuclear option story a few years ago, he only has heart and grit, and it's not enough. You got to have the brains. You got to have the strategic brains.
Thank you. Captains do not take dumb, stupid penalties that handicap their team, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. And Applicator just takes way too many penalties. It's just self-destructive to the team.
And with the contract that they're paying, I'm like, really? It's not like he's one of the high quality scorers or effective players in the league to be demanding that type of a contract. So, hey, blame that on Kenny Boy for giving him that one.
Right. Once again, Ken Holland is the scapegoat. But even though it seems at first that Zetterberg's placing on long-term injury reserve might open up a spot for a younger player in Grand Rapids or a prospect. They use up all the money. They use up some more of the money on Green, Vanek, Thomas Vanek, and Colorado Avalanche goaltender Jonathan Bernier. Let's not forget. That all just shows you that Ken Holland is still not willing or ready to rebuild. He's gonna waste Chris. He's gonna keep wasting more of Chris Ilitch's money and make him sell the Red Wings. Think about that.
Right. But basically, hey, that's not a bad theory there. If you ask me.
There you go.
Get this quicker as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, that would be one bright side. Rarely, at a rarity for Ken Holland signing those veteran contracts. If the Red Wings have another bad season, even with Dan Bylsma as their assistant coach, Jeff Blashill is still the head coach. By the way, he has 1 year left on his contract. Well, duh. Now would be a good time to just tank away again.
There you go. I mean, what, you got Jack Hughes coming up in next year's draft? Would not be a bad time to start tanking.
Oh, yeah. Let's go after him. So.
Right. I mean, granted, yeah, I mean, you're able to have somehow Zadina and Valero fall into your lap, so, Valvano, I believe, so I'm sorry. So it wouldn't hurt to actually try more effort to go after this young kid next time to make sure you're in prime position to take him and not anyone else.
Right. So, yeah, Holland did draft well, but still, he keeps blocking all those prospects and younger players. It just never ends until Holland sometime leaves this entire organization, period. So,
yeah, gotta wait till 2020 on that one, boy.
Wait till when? I couldn't hear it.
2020.
Yeah, absolutely. When he takes the Seattle GM position, I can't wait for that. So, let's transition to the Tigers here.
That one is long gone.
They take the last two at the Toronto Blue Jays Sunday and Monday at 107. This one, the one that was on Sunday, that was 9-1. Nick Castellanos hit a grand slam. Then the other one they took, I think, 4-3. That was 3-2 in 10 innings. Joe Jimenez blew a save in the ninth inning by walking Justin Smoke to bring in the run, the bases loaded walk. But Jose Iglesias, the RBI sacrifice fly. Victor Martinez hit an RBI single. He went 2 for 4. But still, his numbers are low. And the Tigers fans still very high on Nick Castellanos, and they want to vote for him to be an All-Star, be part of the American League All-Star team. Get out of here. He's not tradable because of his defensive metrics. His defensive WAR is a -1.5 the last I checked.
Yeah, his stat is starting to catch up. That's good for him, but his defense is still subpar. The fans, the whole All-Star thing, the fans, they just want to feel included because they know the team, it's not in a good spot right now. It's not what it was, say, 2 or 3, even 4 years ago. This is clearly a crisis mode, essentially, where you don't know if you're going to rebuild or you're going to tank or not. And they just want to feel included. They don't want to feel like some poor fake, some poor heifer left out in the cold. So that's why they're going to try to muster up some type of effort to send Castellanos to the All-Star game. Now, granted, he's a good player.
Offensively.
Offensively, I can see why Dombrowski didn't want to give him up for so many years, but still, he's nowhere near that type of complete player that warrants, definitely deserves an All-Star vote. No, he's not at that level yet, to me. So, if this goes through, credit to the fans. If not, oh well.
Right. You got to be a complete player to be an All-Star. That's the thing. I mean, you don't have to be exactly as good as Mike Trout, but you got to be a complete.
Be Mike Trout level, but you got to be at least adequate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the Tigers go into Wrigley and lose 5-3 and then 5-2 to the Chicago Cubs. They get swept in the 2-game series. Not exactly the demolishing that we hoped for, but the Cubs still win both games nonetheless. It's a matter of smarts, and it's a matter of who. Yeah, it's a matter of who strategically finds the ways to win over who finds the ways to lose, which is the Tigers. And then,
well, hey, if you keep trying to have your bad bullpen out there, that'll help you lose more games. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, like Daniel Stumpf, Warwick Saupold, Joe Jimenez. Shane Green's on a 10-day DL, by the way.
Oh, lovely.
And then they return home and they fall behind 7-1 to the Texas Rangers. They come back, they fall short 7-5. Nice try, Rally Goose. So let me check the standings real quick. Got to go to the MLB.com @Bat mobile app. The Tigers right now, 38-51, third place in the American League Central, the American League Comedy Central, that is. 12 games back.
Oh, man.
They've lost 3 straight, 2 out of their last 10. They've lost 8 out of their last 10. The Indians are 48-37. The Twins 36-48. That's Comedy Central for you.
Yeah.
And I believe the Tigers are 4th worst in the American League. Oh yeah, keep that tanking going.
Absolutely. I mean, it does speak to your division. If a team with 50-plus losses and the 4th worst record in the entire league, and you're half of the league, and yet they're only in 3rd place in your division, that speaks to how much shit your division is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want your analogy on the Bosio firing. It occurred last week, and or the week before, whichever. But the Bosio signing, that was last week. It was a racist comment toward a towel collector employed with the Tigers. I don't really want to say it out loud while doing it with you. So
and very, very disgusting. So kudos to the Tigers for firing this dirtbag. He got what was coming to him. Granted, there are many places in the world today where you can say the most outlandish and outrageous and the most flat out wrong of things, and there's no accountability held for you, and hit our political scheme. But that's another topic for another day. But again, I do appreciate the Tigers sticking by their guns and saying no, that we're not going to tolerate this type of crap. This type of talk is not who we are as a franchise, who we are publicly to the fans and to the investors and whatnot. So no, for the sake of everything else involved, yes, this piece of shit had to go. And I appreciate Rob Gardner for sticking by the team's decision to go away with this person. So, no type of backhanded confidence for me. Just straight up props to the Tigers for go ahead with this move.
Absolutely. So those are all the teams right now. It's time for the segment we call "What's Your Grade?"
Pencils down, everyone. It's time to find out what's your grade.
And there are 3 events that we grade here this Thursday, and the first to go is the Pistons signing Jose Calderon, a guard, a former Piston, to a 2-year, $8.3 million deal. What's your grade, Ed?
Well, the amount of money that they had to spend to make this type of deal, and where the area of need where you had to make this type of deal, and past connections between Calderon and Casey, and of course Stefanski as well to an extent, to a degree. I'll give this one a B+. It's not, it's the best that you can do out of the current situation that you're at right now. So for that, I'll give this a B+.
Here's event number 4, the Pistons signing GR3, Glenn Robinson III.
Okay, this is where my homerism is going to show. I'm going to give this one an A because you definitely need some help on with your wings and if you're in your small forwards. And this is the guy in Glenn Robinson III who could definitely bring that production, that more so offensive production than say Stanley Johnson could in any type of situation or any type of moment. So that could be a guy where you could bring on. If you want to move Stanley to the 2 in certain lineups, or just have him be your backup small forward as an offensive threat, you definitely have that guy who has capability like that in terms of Robinson. So again, this is partially due to my homerism, but I'm going to give this move an A for the Pistons.
All right. Now for the other two. The Pistons hiring Gregg Polinsky as their director of player personnel.
It's a B. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I knew he was coming off of working for the Nets, I would be a little bit more excited. But again, I understand the connections that he has to Stefanski, so it doesn't surprise me that this type of move will be made. I'm going to give this one overall a B.
All right, last one. The Red Wings signing Andreas Athanasiou to a 2-year, $6 million deal.
B+. You get to keep one of your best young players under tow, and it's for the next 2 years. Hopefully, it gives you some time to put together a better contract offer the next time around. So far, so good. I like, again, not a home run move, but still a necessary move. You got a good double out of this, so I give this one a B+.
Yeah, the only reason it's not an A+, it just uses up more money for Chris Ilitch's payroll.
And it's coming off some of the other questionable free agent moves that they've just made, too. So I can't go higher than that.
Right. Absolutely. So that's our What's Your Grade segment. So for our audience, if they have a grade for each of those 4 events, post that in the comment bank in this episode, and please don't go out of line. That's episode 12 of the midweek edition. Before we sign off, we want to remind everyone to share this episode and our entire podcast on social media and have their friends share that as well, because we want to tell them that the Michigan Sports Truth podcast is in search for a wider local audience that is fans of sports. So please spread the word about the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts via iTunes. Its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, and its Twitter handle at Michigan_Truth. Ed, nice job tonight. Talk to you next week.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your post-holiday shindig, whatever, and I'll see you next time.
Yep. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips and Ed Smith at EdSmith313. We'll talk to you next week on episode 13 of the midweek edition. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The Michigan Sports Truth podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
Mission complete.